Life is going to test you. It's going to push you. It's going to knock you down. And sometimes it will feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. But here's the truth. You are stronger than you think. Strength isn't just about muscles or toughness. It's about faith. It's about discipline. It's about standing tall when everything around you tells you to give up. I've been told no more times than I can count. I've failed. I've stumbled. I've fallen flat on my face. But every single time, I got back up. That's what it means to be strong in any situation. It's not about avoiding the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain and trusting that the sun will shine again. When I talk about strength, I'm not talking about how much weight you can lift in the gym or how many people you can intimidate with your presence. I'm talking about something deeper, something that doesn't show up on the outside, but is tested every single day on the inside. For me, real strength has always started with faith. When I was a young man, I didn't always know where I was going, and I certainly didn't have everything figured out. I stumbled, I made mistakes, I faced rejection, and I felt the sting of failure. But what carried me through those moments wasn't some magical talent or even a well-laid plan. It was the belief that there was a purpose bigger than me, that God had his hand on my life, even when I couldn't see the path clearly. That faith gave me a foundation. Without it, I would have crumbled under the pressure. I found the strength to keep moving forward. There were times when the world told me no. Casting directors, producers, even people close to me doubted whether I had what it took. And you know how easy it is to start believing those voices when you hear them enough. But my faith taught me something powerful. It taught me that man's no doesn't cancel God's yes. Every rejection wasn't the end of the road. It was just a redirection. Every closed door wasn't a punishment. It was protection from something that wasn't meant for me. And when you begin to see life that way, your strength changes. You don't break as easily because you know the fight isn't yours alone. Strength, to me, has never been about walking into a room and demanding attention. It's about walking into a room with quiet confidence because you know who you are and whose you are. I've been in situations where I didn't have all the answers, where I was nervous, where I didn't know how things would turn out. But faith reminded me that I didn't have to know everything, take the next step. That strength moving forward when the path is blurry, trusting that the ground will appear under your feet. There were moments in my life when I felt like giving up, when the weight of disappointment and the fear of failure tried to crush me. But when you have faith, you understand that those moments are temporary. Pain is temporary. Struggle is temporary. Rejection is temporary. What lasts is the lesson you carry with you and the character you build along the way. I leaned on that truth. I told myself, if God woke me up this morning, that means he's not finished with me yet. And that single thought gave me the strength to face another day. Faith also taught me gratitude. And gratitude is one of the strongest weapons you can carry with you. Because when you're grateful, you stop focusing on what you don't have and start appreciating what you do have. Gratitude shifts your mindset, and a strong mindset can carry you through the hardest battles. I was grateful for the little opportunities, for the small roles, for the chance to just be in the room. That gratitude fueled me, and it reminded me to stay humble no matter how high I climbed. Real strength doesn't come from pride. It comes from humility, from knowing that every blessing you have is not just for you, but for you to share, to serve, to give back. I've seen people with money, fame, and power who still feel empty inside, who break under pressure because they built their strength on things that don't last. But when your strength is rooted in faith, you can bend without breaking. You can lose without being lost. You can fall without being destroyed. I'm not saying I don't get tired. I'm not saying I don't feel pain, but I am saying that my faith gives me the courage to get back up again and again. When storms come, and they always do, you don't pray for the storm to disappear. You pray for the strength to endure it. And in that endurance, you find growth. I've learned more from my failures than I ever learned from my successes. I've grown more in seasons of waiting than I ever did in seasons of winning. And all of it, every single part of the journey, made me stronger. That's what faith does. It doesn't remove the struggle, but it gives you the strength to walk through it. So if you ask me how to stay strong in any situation, I'll tell you this: build your strength on faith. Not on applause, not on achievements, not on what people think of you. Those things will come and go. Faith is the anchor that keeps you grounded when life tries to toss you around. It's the quiet voice that says, keep going, you're not finished yet. And when you hold on to that, when you lean into that, you'll discover a strength inside yourself that no circumstance can break. When I look back at my journey, I see a trail of rejection slips, closed doors, and moments that felt like the world was saying, you're not good enough. I remember auditioning for roles, pouring my heart into performances, and hearing nothing but silence in return. There were times I questioned if I had what it takes, times I wondered if this path was even meant for me. But every one of those setbacks taught me something. Discipline is what turns pain into power. Without discipline, the pain of rejection eats you alive. With discipline, that pain becomes fuel. I never allowed myself to sit in self-pity for long. I told myself, get up, get moving, get better. That voice inside me wouldn't let me quit. The nights when I couldn't sleep because disappointment kept me awake, I used that time to study, to rehearse, to prepare. I knew that if I kept sharpening my craft, the day would come when preparation and opportunity would meet. And that day only comes for those who refuse to stop working. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not applause. It's not red carpets. It's not trophies on the shelf. Discipline is showing up every single day when nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping, when it feels like your effort is going unnoticed. Discipline is doing again, and even when yesterday ended in failure. You don't become strong in the spotlight. You become strong in the shadows, where discipline is tested and proven. There were times I walked out of auditions with my pride bruised and my spirit tired. But I would go home, look in the mirror, and remind myself that no has the power to define me. Every rejection was an invitation to refine my skills, to sharpen my character. The pain of hearing, you're not the one, burned. Discipline told me not to let that fire go to waste. Discipline turned that pain into determination, and that determination pushed me further than talent alone ever could. You see, talent will get you noticed, but discipline will keep you standing when talent isn't enough. Talent can open a door, but discipline is what makes sure you're ready when the door finally swings wide. Discipline builds consistency, and consistency builds strength. Without it, you crumble under pressure. With it, you learn how to carry the weight. I had to understand that failure wasn't my enemy. Failure was a teacher. The pain of falling short forced me to dig deeper, to study harder, to stretch further than I thought I could. And discipline gave me the courage to face that pain instead of running from it. Too many people run from discomfort, but discomfort is where growth lives. Discipline makes you sit in that discomfort, learn from it, and transform it into something powerful. Even now, after years of success, discipline is what keeps me grounded. It's easy to get comfortable when you've made it. It's easy to start believing the praise, to relax, to coast. But true strength is not about one victory. It's about continuing to rise every day with the same hunger you had when you were broke, when you were unknown, when you were struggling. That's why discipline can never leave you. It has to be your constant companion, your daily reminder that pain, failure, and rejection are not the end. They are part of the process. So when I speak about strength, I don't mean never feeling pain. I don't mean never being afraid. I mean facing that pain with discipline. I mean using fear as a stepping stone, not a wall. Every challenge I've faced has tried to break me, but discipline turned those challenges into stepping stones. It made me stronger, sharper, more determined. And the truth is, without the pain, without the discipline that carried me through it, I wouldn't be who I am today. Strength in any situation isn't about avoiding hardship. It's about transforming it. It's about letting discipline guide you through the fire and coming out refined, not destroyed. And that is why I can stand here today and tell you with certainty, discipline doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes you. It turns pain into power and power into purpose. Courage means standing tall when it's hard. And I'll tell you something from my own life. It's not easy. People sometimes think courage is about being fearless, like you wake up every morning ready to conquer the world with no doubt in your heart. That's not true. Fear lives in all of us. I've felt it. I've been in rooms where I wondered if I was good enough, talented enough, or even meant to be there. I've faced rejection that cut deep. I've had dreams collapse right in front of me. But I learned that courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to keep moving despite it. I remember times early in my career when I auditioned, and nobody wanted to take a chance on me. I'd walk home at night, questioning myself, asking why I was putting myself through this. That's when the voice of doubt is the loudest. That's when the weight feels the heaviest. But deep down, something inside me whispered, stand tall, keep going. That whisper, that small, quiet, persistent voice is courage. Courage is not a loud shout. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's simply taking the next step when you feel like sitting down. When life gets hard, when the odds are stacked against you, when your back is up against the wall, that's the moment when courage shows up. And I'll tell you this, it's in those moments you discover what you're really made of. Anyone can smile when things are easy. Anyone can feel strong when the sun is shining. But can you stay strong in the storm? Can you hold your ground when people doubt you? When money runs out? When doors slam in your face? When life doesn't go according to plan? That's the true test of courage. I've fallen flat on my face more times than I can count. I've had to swallow failure and embarrassment. But I always chose to stand tall again. You see, courage doesn't always win on the first try. Sometimes courage looks like getting up after the third, fourth, or fifth failure. Sometimes courage means walking back into the same arena that knocked you down yesterday, knowing it might knock you down again tomorrow. But you go anyway. That's where growth happens. That's where strength is built. Courage also requires honesty with yourself. It means looking in the mirror and admitting that you're scared, but deciding not to let fear control you. I've stood in front of cameras, in front of millions of people, and felt butterflies in my stomach. That nervousness never fully goes away. But instead of running from it, I learned to embrace it. That energy, that fear, can be transformed into fuel. Courage is not about pretending you're invincible. It's about saying, I'm afraid, but I will not be stopped. And let me tell you, courage isn't just about you. It inspires everyone around you. When you stand tall in hard times, you give permission for others to do the same. You show them what's possible. I've seen it in my own life. I've seen how my struggles and perseverance have encouraged others to keep going through their storms. We don't always realize it, but our courage has a ripple effect. So when I say stand tall when it's hard, I mean don't let the weight of your struggles bend your spirit. Keep your back straight, your head up, and your faith strong. People will doubt you. People will walk away. Circumstances will change. But if you hold your ground with courage, nothing can truly defeat you. Every challenge I've faced, every trial I've endured, has built a resilience in me that no comfort could ever teach. That's the beauty of courage. It transforms pain into wisdom, fear into strength, and struggle into victory. So the next time life hits you hard, remember it's not about avoiding the fight. It's about showing up for it with everything you've got. That's what courage is. That's what it means to stay strong in any situation. Service and humility give you balance. That's something I learned early in my life and career, and it's something that has carried me through every situation where strength was required. You see, the world will try to tell you that being strong means being the loudest voice in the room, being the one who dominates, the one who gets all the attention. But I've discovered that true strength comes from a much quieter place. It comes from knowing who you are, from grounding yourself in humility, and from using what you've been given to serve others. That balance is what keeps you standing when everything else feels like it's falling apart. I didn't grow up with everything handed to me. I didn't walk into Hollywood and have doors wide open waiting. I went through rejection, disappointment, and long stretches where nothing seemed to be happening. And in those moments, when pride could have made me bitter, humility reminded me that the journey wasn't just about me. Every opportunity, every blessing wasn't meant for me to hoard, but to share. That shift in mindset gave me strength because I stopped measuring myself only by what I achieved, and I started measuring myself by what I could give. When you serve, something happens on the inside. You realize your problems aren't as heavy as you thought they were. You start to see that someone out there is carrying a burden far greater than yours, and maybe, just maybe, your words, your actions, your presence can help lighten that load. And when you help them stand, you find yourself standing stronger too. That's not weakness. That's balance. That's where real strength is born. Humility is not about thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking of yourself less. And in this world, where fame and success can intoxicate you, humility is the anchor that keeps you from drifting away. I've stood on big stages, accepted awards, heard the applause, but none of that compares to the quiet satisfaction of knowing you've poured into someone else's life. Strength isn't proven by how high you climb. It's revealed by how many hands you're willing to reach back and lift while you're climbing. I remember times when my career was uncertain, when the calls weren't coming, when I questioned whether I was good enough. Those moments taught me humility because they reminded me that nothing was guaranteed. But they also taught me service because I realized I could still make an impact outside of a movie set. I could still show up for my family, for my community, for the young people watching me, trying to figure out their own path. Giving of yourself doesn't require a platform. It requires a willing heart. Staying strong in any situation means refusing to let pride blind you. Pride will make you think you don't need anyone, but humility will remind you that none of us make it alone. Service will remind you that the gift you've been given is meant to be shared. And in those moments when storms hit, it's the people you've served, the lives you've touched, that become your support system, your reason to keep moving forward. The older I get, the more I understand that strength without humility can be dangerous. You can gain the world, but lose yourself in the process. But when you balance strength with service, you don't just endure hard times, you grow through them. You come out of the fire not just tougher, but wiser, softer in the right places, more grateful, and more compassionate. So when I say service and humility give you balance, I'm telling you what I know, not just what I've read. I've lived it. I've stumbled, I've been broken, I've been lifted back up, and through it all, I've learned that the strongest thing you can do in any situation is to put others before yourself. When you help someone else find their strength, you discover your own. And that, to me, is the kind of strength that never fades. When I think about strength, I don't think about the moments when everything was going right, when the lights were shining, when the awards were in my hand, or when the applause was echoing in the room. No, I think about the times when the world told me, no. I think about the doors that closed in my face, the scripts I didn't get, the roles I auditioned for and never heard back from. I think about the moments where I questioned myself, where failure stood taller than I did, because that's where I found my true strength. That's where I learned who I was and what I was made of. Failure has been my teacher, my motivator, and in many ways, my closest companion. And I'll tell you right now, failure never defined me, it refined me. When you fall, when you stumble, when you feel that embarrassment, that sting of rejection, you've got two choices. You can stay down and let it break you, or you can rise up and let it build you. And I chose to rise every single time, not because I felt strong in the moment, not because I had all the answers, but because I refused to let failure write my. Failure might be a chapter, but it will never be the book. I remember so vividly being young, hungry, full of dreams, and full of doubts at the same time. And Hollywood didn't exactly roll out a red carpet. I was told, you don't fit the part. You're not what we're looking for, maybe next time. But I kept going, because I knew that rejection was not the end. It was part of the process. Strength, real strength, is built in the shadows. It's built when nobody's watching. It's built when the doors are slammed in your face, when your bank account is empty, when your phone isn't ringing. It's built when you're sitting alone, asking yourself, do I still have it in me? That's when you decide who you really are. And I decided a long time ago, I wasn't going to let failure stop me. I was going to let it shape me, mold me, sharpen me. When I failed, I studied why. When I failed, I worked harder. When I failed, I got back up with more determination. Failure taught me persistence. It taught me humility. And it taught me gratitude. Because when success finally did come, I could appreciate it in a way I never would have if everything had been handed to me. The mountaintop means nothing without the climb, and the climb is full of slips, falls, and bruises. But every scar tells a story of survival, and every bruise reminds you that you didn't quit. I'll tell you something personal. Some of the greatest blessings in my life came disguised as failure. Opportunities I thought I lost, doors that closed, paths that seemed blocked. They redirected me to something greater. And when I look back now, I realized that what I thought was the end was really the beginning of something better. That's why I say, never let failure define you, because failure doesn't know your future. Failure doesn't know the greatness you're capable of. It only knows the moment, and moments change. So if you're listening to me right now, and you're in a season of failure, if you're in a valley, if you're at rock bottom, hear me when I say this: you are not finished. You are not done. This is not where your story ends. You've got more inside of you, more strength, more courage, more resilience than you realize. Get up, knock on the door one more time, push one more inch forward. Because the difference between those who make it and those who don't is not talent. It's not luck. It's perseverance. It's refusing to give up when the world tells you to. I never measured my life by the times I fell down. I measured it by the times I got back up. That's the only scoreboard that matters. And if you can rise after failure, if you can look at defeat in the eye and say, "You will not define me," then you are stronger than you ever imagined. Failure will test you, but it can never stop you unless you let it. So don't let it. Keep moving, keep fighting, keep believing, because your story is still being written, and the next chapter might just be the victory you've been waiting for.